915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game.
Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer. I am your host, Coach Hector Cano, joined by my lovely co-host, the Obi-Wan Kenobi of Texas High School Soccer, as I call him, Rafa. Rafa, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good.
Awesome. We are joined by some 4A royalty in the house here tonight. So joining us from the two-time defending state champions, Coach Alexander Adams, and our state MVP, Lexi Tweet of the Celina Lady Bobcats. Guys, how are you?
Good.
Awesome. Great stuff. Thank you. Great to have you here. And again, we are brought to you by our proud partners, powered by our proud partners, College Promoters USA. They are America's premier college prep program and high school student athlete marketing service since 1997. Located locally here in the San Antonio area, you can find them in the Ventura Plaza Shopping Center, but you can also find them on social, on Twitter at SATX Recruiting, as well as on Instagram at College Promoters USA. And you can also get more information on the many cool things they're doing on their website at collegepromotersusa.com. So, Coach Adams, you're joining some pretty exclusive elite 50/50 podcast company here. I think your third time now on the show, right?
Yes, yeah.
I think
you guys are gonna have to maybe like do a jacket or something someday, like they do on SNL, right? Like after so many appearances, we gotta get something. I don't know. We gotta work on that.
We had so Coach Kruger, Jimmy Kruger, right, from Seven Lakes, was on here last week. He asked for a veteran badge, but now you're upping the ante. You're asking for a jacket. I don't know, man. I don't know, but we do have something, though. We will have something. I don't know if my man Rafa has it handy there, but what we will be sending you guys is one of these. So courtesy of our good friends at Global Scarves. All right, a 50/50 podcast scarf that you can rock in somewhere there in the soccer office or in the locker room. So that will be headed your way, Coach.
Awesome.
Remind me. We'll get one of those over to you. So again, and you can't purchase those. Okay. You can't purchase those. Those are to be awarded. So we feel after winning 2 state titles, we feel like maybe you guys are maybe worthy of one. So anyway, again, thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys. Tell us, what has it been like? It's been about 2.5 weeks or so, maybe a little bit longer since being crowned the defending your title and being crowned the 4A state champions once again. Coach Adams, what has it been like so far?
This one was kind of surreal. That to be able to go into halftime and have a considerable lead. Last year the focus was that how do we continue to stay in this game. And the focus this year was, can we hurry up and get the 40 minutes over with? So even, I remember Lex saying something on the bus ride home that it felt weird, just because, last year it was exhausting, with the 2 overtimes and then Lex putting in the last PK to win it, and it was just so much emotion over, probably a 2-hour period. And then Lex goes and spoils it this year and takes over in 15 minutes.
No fun.
Yeah. So it was a little bit different experience, but it's funny how as you guys know as coaches that you always go and reflect on everything that you've always done. I always I sit at night and I got soccer going on in my head.
Right.
And to reflect on the season is, it's just remarkable to be in the record books forever. That's never going to be taken away from us. The fact that we went 29-0 and, beat some really good teams on the way to doing it. It wasn't like that we scheduled a bunch of, teams that we could just run over, and to do that was, is something that, I'm going to remember the rest of my life. It's that these kids have officially placed a special special place in my heart. The rest of my life, I'm always going to talk to my other athletes about this one group of kids I had in Celina. Lex and Maddie and Mia, and the list is going to go down with all the girls that were on the team this year. To have this happen is something that that they've gifted me as something that I'll remember the rest of my life.
Lexi?
For me, it was a really great feeling. And he was right. Last year, there was so much emotion throughout the entire game. I was crying going into overtime. I was crying going into PKs. I was probably crying as I was taking the PK. So much emotion. So this year, it finishing, knowing who was going to win coming out of it was definitely very different and very weird, but it wasn't any less rewarding in my opinion, especially with all the records, not just me, but also our team broke. I felt like it was very rewarding, and obviously for me as a senior, it was the best way to go out. It was basically just, ending on the top of a mountain.
Right. So you look back, you talked about this historic season, right, Coach? So 2023, you guys went 29-0, if I got that right, 29-0. Only the third team in the 40 years of UAL Texas high school soccer to complete a perfect season. And you guys do it. What was a little tougher too or significantly tougher and impressive about it is you guys did it really, you bookended, you went from end to end as the number one team in the state, right? So has that really hit you yet, Coach? Have you really had a chance to process that?
It's kind of crazy to think that, that we were able to do that. That I honestly, people kept asking me about the winning streak that we're currently in. And I think it's at like 57 games or something like that. And I haven't even thought about it, and that's legit. Me not trying to be humble or whatever. I think coaches that are focused on, especially when you got a talented team that we had, you really focus on how can we win these next games and how can we achieve those goals that we've set as a team. And you really wait for all that other stuff that we're talking about now until the end of the season, just because there was so much, there was so much that we wanted to accomplish. And I felt a lot of the weight as far as, success or failure, just because I wanted this, I kept telling the girls over and over again, I wanted this to happen for this team so bad for them. And, to have such a great group of kids that really deserved this success because of just how good of they are in training, how good they are to each other, how good that they've developed themselves over the years in both the club and the high school level. They deserve this, and not to take anything back from any of the other teams that qualified the playoffs in 4A this year, but I really felt that these girls deserved this just because of everything that went into what came to fruition at the end of the season. So I guess it's still good to kind of get back to the question. It's still kind of sinking in, it really is. It's something that, I think the more and more I think about it, the more and more I get, I get emotional about it, just because
Right.
it's crazy. It's crazy to think that we did something like that.
It's a lot. It's extremely impressive, And so I guess my question, we see you there, you're strutting your gold there around your neck, right? Wearing some of the medals. And so you went, back-to-back state titles. And obviously, the state title game, which we'll talk to a little bit more in a minute, that was, obviously that is what it is. I was going to ask you if it was harder to repeat, but in terms of the state title game, clearly that didn't turn out to be the case. But over the course of the season, though, was it kind of harder to repeat than win the title the first time last year? And what was it about this year's team what was different, I guess, about this year's team? So was it harder over the course of the season when you look back on it to repeat? And what was different about this year's team compared to last year's team?
I personally feel, and I think Lex will probably reflect this, that we as a team really came together, and I always talk about how, Lex, Brielle Buchanan, me and Norman, and Matt Ivana, all of them played club just so that they could develop that chemistry together, and
Awesome.
and go back and try to win another title. And at the same time, they were also chasing some scholarships too. That they're not only we're thinking about their high school team, but also their collegiate career ahead. So I think that really shows just how special the group of seniors that we had to be able to put themselves essentially in the back burner and really think about what can we do as a team to not only accomplish getting a state title, but also help getting each other recruited in college. And that's exactly what they did. And that to me is like mind-boggling that you have teenagers making these decisions for themselves and are mature enough to sit there and do that. It's just, and that's just goes back to the point of just why they, in my opinion, I felt like they really deserve this, is because they just were everything a coach would want and then some in student athletes.
Yeah, that's pretty special. That's pretty awesome. So Lexi, I remember back in November, I don't know if you ever had a chance to see the episode. It wasn't a very long episode, but back in November in Galveston, the Tasco Texas High School Soccer Coaches Convention, I'm there, I'm interviewing, Coach Adams, and he had this look on his face of like worry about, hey, I'm not sure where are the goals going to come from? Who's going to step up? And I'm listening to him, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, it's like, is this guy nuts or what? He's like, they're just reloading there at Celina, right? But he was legitimately, it was a concern, because that's what we do as coaches. We're concerned, right, about our teams. But when you look back, my question, similar to yours, similar to what I asked Coach, have you really had a chance to kind of process what you guys did this year? Has it kind of in any way, shape, or form really hit you? Because obviously you've heard of it plenty now, what you guys did this year, but has it hit you in any way? Have you had a chance to really process that?
In that sense, not necessarily. I feel like right now I'm still getting a lot of, oh, congrats. Like even today, I was actually at a little boutique in Celina, and someone mentioned how we won, and she told me congrats, and I didn't know her, and she probably didn't even know that she just knew my face or whatever. She actually asked, do you go to Celina? Do you play soccer? Oh yeah, y'all won, congrats. Like she didn't know my name or my face or anything. But I think that leaving the mark on the community has been the most rewarding thing. And that necessarily hasn't sunk in, but I feel like it's one of those things, and I keep saying this, but it's one of those things where I'll look back in 5-10 years, and that's kind of when I'll really think about it, and it'll really process for me fully. And I'll be like, I remember like that, like it was yesterday, and it's just crazy, what happened after, what happened during, how that happened. But for it being processed, it definitely hasn't processed yet, especially the way the state game went.
Right.
It was just so weird. I just don't know how else to explain it other than just different, not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I could say it definitely hasn't fully sunk in, but with the community like being so supportive and uplifting and everything, it's definitely there. It's definitely still a feeling that high is still there for sure.
That's awesome. And that's a perfect segue, because that's exactly what I was going to ask you about next, Lexi, is as that state championship match is unfolding, right? You're in the middle of it, and you have a very quality opponent, obviously in Stephenville. And then, all of a sudden that first half is unfolding, and you're just going crazy, right? You established these 4A state records: most goals in a game, 5; most goals in a series, 6. Stop me at any time, Lexi, right? Most goals in a state final, 5. Lexi, jump in here. Tied all-time state individual career goals with 7, right? We go back to that state final, and it's just unfolding, and you can't stop scoring. And what is going through your mind? Like, honestly, what is going through your mind?
Honestly, after the first one, obviously I was super excited. I was like, oh my gosh, we just scored. We're up. We need to keep this lead. Same thing with probably 2-0. But once we had obvious like domination over Stephenville, I should say, I think that was what was going through my mind was kind of a little bit of relief. And I told the team and I told myself, I was like, do not get comfortable with this. I don't care if it's 8-0. If we can score 8 goals, so can they. Like, I not by any means comfortable, but there was definitely a sense of, okay, we have a good lead, a little bit of pressure is off. And honestly, my mindset going into it was I just wanted to play my best for the whole 80 minutes. Sorry, I had to think about it because club is 90.
Right.
The full 80 minutes. And I just wanted to go out, play my best. I mean, it's my last game of high school soccer ever. And high school soccer has meant so much to me over the last 4 years. So obviously that was like a bittersweet feeling, but more sweet than bitter in the end. But honestly, without the team, coaches, none of that would have been possible for me personally. But yes, as much as I broke records, so did our whole team. So that was just also super rewarding to be able to share that with everyone too.
Yeah. Coach,
it's funny that with Lex, she doesn't know that I'm secretly doing something behind the administrative side to where she may not be graduating this year.
There we go.
Yeah, she may have to do her senior year all over again. I'm
sure the rest of the state won't appreciate that, but there you go. So, Coach, your team goes out, obviously beyond just Lexi, but your team goes out there, puts an unbelievable first half in that state final. What are you thinking as you go to talk to them at halftime? What is the message at this point of, hey, just keep doing what you're doing? What do you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lex, I don't know if you recall, but it was something pretty similar to that keep the pedal to the metal, just because, you can't, even if it was going real well like that, you can't let up because, just like you said, Stephenville's a quality team. They made it to state. Absolutely. They won a region, and you can't discount that. I think, last year kind of taught us a lesson. We got up a couple of goals on Midlow, and things were looking pretty good. I think it was 3-1 with 15, 20 minutes left in the game, and I'm sitting there thinking, we've got a chance at this, and then all of a sudden we're tied. So.
Well, I will say selfishly, I'm glad you guys did that last year because you guys probably gave us, in my personal opinion, it's probably since the pandemic, the best game I've seen. The best game. That was just an absolute game for the ages. So, and we talked about it, Rafa, right? We talked about it a handful of times. That match from last year came up a couple of times this year, right? So
it was nuts. It really was. It was. I don't think it's going to really take something really special to top that. And not only for that to happen, but that to happen in a state game. Yeah. The way it unfolded was just
because everything's on the line. It's the final. There's the match of the season. Absolutely. Right. And you're watching all the best players on the field shine, right, for both teams. That's what made it pretty amazing. So, Rafa?
Coach, going into the season, I noticed, like, looking at your schedule, you really challenged this team, beating some good 6A teams and one of the private school powerhouses. What was your mindset going into scheduling those games to prepare for this coming season?
Well, I'll be honest. Whenever I booked those games, it was to build some adversity. That's something I kind of felt the season before when we lost a tough one to the Colony on it still bothers me this day. 2 set piece goals. They had these twins on their team that I don't know, had some kind of
I actually play club with them now.
and they just had this. They had this set piece corner that was just money, and it still bothers me today. And that happened, and then we had our game where we played North Mesquite, and had the lead all the way up until the last like 2 minutes of the game, and I kind of felt like those games are the reason why it galvanized us, and that put us at the ability to go and compete for the state championship last year. So this year, I felt like it needed to be taken up a notch, just because. Number one, I thought we had the team to be able to, accept the challenge. But number two, even some of the girls on the team, they wanted that. They were saying, "Hey, are we putting the Friscos on the team? Are we going to play Prosper?" All the quality teams that are there in the surrounding area. Because the girls play against them in club and know them personally. A lot of them they know, the girls personally at different schools, but they wanted the challenge.
Yeah.
And I felt like we were good enough to do it, and I kind of felt like, if there was a loss or two in there, it would be good for us. That the only time losses really matter on the schedules, is for district and playoffs. It's nice to win tournaments and some of those pre-district stuff, but that's whenever it counts. And for us to go and perform so well, against some of those teams. You look at Ursuline, that they went and won state, so that was no joke. And to be able to go and match up with some of those girls and win was awesome.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation with Rafa because I knew, being on the private school side of things, I know what Ursuline is, right? Ursuline Academy, I know what they are. And when you guys, so when you all beat them and you all beat them the way you beat them, I was like, all right, this Atlanta team is like really for real, right? This isn't, this isn't just hey, they're maybe just making their way through, through the early stages of the season, and then maybe they'll be challenged in district. But yeah, that's when we really knew. So that was a pretty big statement there. So Rafa.
Yeah, and looking forward for next year. Are you going to take it up a notch again, or kind of the same formula? The one game I do, like I mentioned, Coast, I would love to see you guys go up against South Lake Curl. That's like my dream match there for you guys.
You're not the only one that's told me that. I've probably had about 4 or 5 other coaches in the say, hey, what about maybe a South Lake match? And
that's dependent on if Lexi gets her fifth season.
Right. They get a COVID year, right? In high school.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be young next year. We're returning our back line. Ellen Norman, who was unfortunately hurt this year, she'll be back from her ACL injury, and we've got I think a couple of talented kids coming up from the middle school that I hope can step in and hopefully make an impact on the game. But
you got one unbelievable goalkeeper coming back too for right, and Caitlin,
and the one behind her is not no scrub either. Is the Emmy Norman. She's related to Ella and Mia. She's the little sister. And I'll tell you what, that Norman DNA branch is something else. They've got 3 just great athletes on their team. But as far as goalkeeper, Caitlin's definitely, she's somebody that unfortunately when we get in the district doesn't get challenged much. So hopefully, going back to what Rafa was asking, we've scheduled some tough opponents. So we're going to play mid-low and some Frisco teams and a couple other 6A opponents, just to make sure that we get tested. So that way, whenever we do get hopefully in the playoffs and are able to go make another run, hopefully those girls will see, hey, this game went this fast, and now we're playing these opponents that may not necessarily be as talented as some of these 6A schools, and hopefully we can handle the test. That's the hope.
Right. So, we go back to state. This one's for both of you. Is obviously the final versus Stephenville. It is what it is, but there were many people that thought, myself included, that the match versus Bernie would really ultimately probably end up being the state final, right? And we were hoping, the way the matchups were, that you all would maybe have a chance to see each other in the final. That wasn't the case. You all met in the semifinal. How did, particularly the way that first half played out against Bernie, right? How did the Bernie semifinal match, how did that prepare you all for the very next day versus Stephenville?
For me personally, Bernie was definitely a very tough game. So I think for our starters, it definitely helped us get on track mentally, because we didn't really know much about Stephenville. We had only played one or two of the same opponents, so we didn't really know what they were about. We knew some key players that shined in the semi game, but that's about it. So for Bernie, I think that it was a really good way to get our mindset right and focus on the goal and realize that it doesn't come easy. I know a lot of our playoff games before might have been easier for us, but I think that was kind of a wake-up call that we definitely needed to make sure we're on our A game all the time. We can't have an off moment, because Bernie was a great team, and they definitely deserved to be at that state tournament. And it was a very hard-fought game,
Yeah. Coach?
Yeah, to even kind of rewind it back a little bit, when we were playing Maybank, a lot of people probably don't know, but that was the first time, I think, this season that we were down the whole season. We hadn't had the scoreboard looked that way for the first time. And I think, even if it was, I think Lex agree, a couple of poor calls, they scored, and that wasn't going to go away. And what were we going to do to accept the challenge and push forward? And that, to kind of fast forward to the Bernie game, we kind of came out that first half, and we really didn't play the way that we had, designed tactically how we were going to win the game. We went in a little bit too direct, and that played into their hands, because they play very direct up to Kylie, right? Her name is
number 8, Kylie Combs.
Kylie Combs. And when you're playing so direct, and you're not giving your team a chance to transition back to defense, you were playing right into what they wanted to do. Was to get it up to their forward and go score. And I think at half, Lex and some of the other senior captains on the team, were saying, "Hey, what are we doing?" That we had a specific plan in place, and we weren't executing it. And I think once we realized, like, hey, we've got to stick to what we've decided is going to win this game. Then we came out and did just that, and played a little bit more, a little bit more technical, a little bit more give, take what they're giving you, and not really, push the envelope up too fast, and we ended up, luckily coming out with the win.
Yeah. Rafa?
Lexi, going into, I guess it's into the final against Stephenville, what was your mindset going into that game? Kind of grinding it out of that semifinal. How'd you feel going to another final?
I was actually so nervous, especially because as a senior, as a captain, as the only senior forward captain, I knew what was expected of me, obviously, and it was definitely a lot of pressure, and I was very, very, very nervous, actually. You'd be surprised. I know maybe it seemed very composed on the field, but people were trying to calm me down. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But also, I think in a sense that the nerves kind of helped me get my mindset right. And I also think that that's just part of the process for me personally. I mean, everyone's different, but when I'm really nervous, and that pressure is on, I feel like in a way that helps me play better, produce better results, and anything. So.
Right.
But yeah, definitely after Bernie, I was very nervous. Again, we didn't really know much about Stephenville as a team, so that kind of didn't help. A lot of the teams that we played in playoffs previously, we kind of knew about. We had played them before. We've never matched with Stephenville, from what I know, my high school career, and we didn't play a lot of the same opponents, so it was a little nerve-wracking for sure.
Yeah,
and go against a different formation that we hadn't seen all year too. You know, that to come out with the 3-5-2 was something that you know I'd only seen before in the professional. You know,
yeah.
So to you know, kind of have to go back and say, hey, how do I adjust the team? You know, if I needed to, but kind of felt like, you know, with Lex being what she is up top, you know, with that 3-5-2, you really got to have your 6 and your center back's got to be an absolute stud. And I kind of felt like Lex was feeling dangerous that day.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. So, Lexi, that's a great answer, and we appreciate your candor. We appreciate you showing that vulnerability, because that's natural, to be honest. You know, that's natural, and that's part of the reason why Coach has you as a captain as well, right? So, because he knows you're going to put those expectations on yourself. So, thank you for sharing that. So, Lexi, you know, congrats again, state MVP. We know where you're headed next, but tell us a little bit about that and just what that looks like and what's next.
Well, I'm super excited, especially right now with everything coming to an end. A lot of lasts for me. My last league games for club will be this upcoming weekend, and obviously last high school games, everything like that. It's really comforting that I'm not ending my entire soccer career, and I think that I'd be very sad and upset with myself if I had chosen that path, especially now, ending on that high. And my club team actually were league champions, so it's really exciting, and like I want to keep up like this energy, and I love the game so much. I couldn't imagine not playing at the next level, and continuing. I honestly can't ever see myself stopping to play, yeah, but I know it's going to happen eventually, but I'm not accepting it yet. But I'm super excited. I talked to a lot of the recruits, obviously Mia, talked to her quite a bit. But we got our roommates, our jersey numbers, everything pretty recently, actually, today. So yeah, so today's been pretty exciting. I've finally got to start planning my room stuff, and it's kind of nice, like already having built-in friends also going in, teammates and everything, and that's pretty exciting for me. And honestly, I was just thinking about it the other night, and I was like, I can't imagine going to college without soccer anymore.
Not being able to play. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So tell us why. Just curious. No real reason. What was it that let you know that, you know, UNC, University of Northern Colorado, was the one for you? What was it?
Well, honestly, the campus and the coaches and the people were all great fits for me. I love Colorado so much. I'm a big skier. Actually, I grew up skiing.
Nice.
Yeah, and so it's pretty close to a lot of ski resorts. And a lot of the girls, when I went on my visit, talked about how we just went skiing this past weekend. So that was just really cool to me. And a lot of schools don't let you do that. A lot of schools don't let you go skiing or snowboarding. Especially the ones that are in the mountains, and D1 schools, they normally don't let you. So that was really exciting for me because, obviously, and I actually have not a lot, but a good amount of family in Colorado who would be very nice. Very close.
Yeah.
So my childhood best friend's family actually moved up to Boulder when I was in 8th grade. So they're right there, and I'm still in touch with them. And then my aunt and uncle live there. And so that's really cool too, to be able to have kind of the comfort of people who know me and who I love and who I'm really close to, but also even being so far away from home.
Yeah. You'll love it. Colorado's great. It's my old stomping grounds. It's where, so I coach not too far from there. I spent some time, a few times on the UNC campus there when I was coaching at the Air Force Academy. So yeah,
Okay.
Colorado's a great place. Great place.
It was beautiful, and I just loved it when I went to visit. And it just seemed like the perfect fit for me in the position I was in, in my recruiting process especially. And I'm really grateful to the coaches and staff at UNC for making that a great visit for me and for kind of taking a chance on me, especially that late in the game for a lot of seniors. Most of them already committed, so I was kind of one of the later recruits. So that's nice.
Well, I'm sure you'll see the Falcons, the Air Force Falcons at some point because they pretty much play almost every year. So take it easy on them when you play them, okay? Take it easy on them. Right? So, all right, Rafa?
Lexi, what are you going to be majoring in there at UNC?
I'm actually going into business. I thought about going into STEM because I'm really into math and science, actually, as weird as it sounds.
Nice.
But I don't really want to spend my career in hospitals or anything. So I am kind of doing more business exploratory, but also keeping my options open on what I want my career to be. But I find entrepreneurship really interesting, and I think that that's awesome, building something out of the ground that's your own. So I think that that's probably something I'm going to try and strive for in the long run. But so for right now, that's kind of what I'm focusing on. But
nice. Great stuff.
She's smart and scores goals, fellas.
So, Coach, 2 years there at Celina. You've only been there 2 years, right? If I understand that correctly, right?
Yep,
So 2 years, 2 titles. You've won an ungodly amount of games in those 2 years. Why on earth would you want to continue to coach? That's a walk-off. You've done a career's worth of stuff in 2 years, right? So what are your thoughts on, have you even processed that, let alone not just the team and what you guys did this year or the 2 years, but you in your coaching career, what has that been like for you?
Well, so I'm going to, people in Celina that are watching this, hear me out for a second. So when I first started coaching there, you hear about the lore around the the other sports programs, especially with our football program has really done some amazing things, set records, 2 in a row is nothing compared to some of the stuff that they've done. And, to hear the lore of, football and the other sports around Celina, you kind of start going like, man, it's almost like cultish, right? Just because of how much everybody loves, the school, the sports, how invested the town is in you, just like with Lex just said, talking to that hairdresser that doesn't even know her, that it really is everybody buys into this community. And for somebody that's coming in on the outside, it's a little different, especially when you're coming from an inner city program where it couldn't be any more of a complete opposite, situation there. So when you start to realize how genuine the community is, how much the athletic administration there, with Billy Elliott and my coordinator Ginger Murray and Kyle Sheridan, just the amount of care and how much they want you to succeed, you kind of start going, man, this Celina place is pretty great, and you start realizing that, you're starting to understand the whole of they talk about what it means to be a Bobcat, that why so many guys that played there 40 years ago in old Bobcat Stadium and still have, season tickets to go watch the games, on Friday nights. It really is a close-knit community that kind of reels you in. It's almost like The Shining or something, that's, you know what I mean? It really does. And honestly, right now I would have a hard time thinking about coaching anywhere else. And it's, winning and all that's fun, but it's kids like Lex and you know, that my other seniors and, you know, on down, that, you know, it isn't just them, you know, Grace, everybody that is part of the team really makes you love doing what you're doing, you know, and it doesn't hurt so much that we do a little winning there every now and then too.
Yeah, every now and then, right? Yeah. So no, well said, well said. So how do you? So now the expectations shift once more, right? So how do you follow that up in 2024? What's your initial just thoughts on that right now? I know you're still trying to digest 2023, but how do you shift that, knowing what the expectations will be like now?
You know, I think whenever you had Coach McBride on the show, he really put it in a good way as far as you know, clipping the season into the 3 different phases. And I think you just take it one phase at a time. You know, you get through the pre-district and clean up the things that need to be cleaned up. My hope is that some of these younger girls that are talented get up to speed as far as the level of play. You know, because a few of them, they played, you know, high level club, but, you know, they are only 14 years old, you know, and it's going to be a little bit different when you're going up against somebody like Lex, you know, that, you know, is about to go to a Division I school, and you're just getting out of middle school. So,
Yeah.
you know, so my hope is that, you know, with those kids kind of get a little maturity through that, and then we get into district and hopefully go and win that again, and then, you know, get into the playoffs and take it one game at a time.
Yeah, well said, well said. So again, this segment brought to you by our good friends at Global Scarves. Global Scarves is the top provider of custom knitted scarves, beanies, and other fan merchandise in the United States. All merch is fully custom with free design services and free shipping on all orders. If you're interested, contact them at info@globalscarves.com. Again, that's info@globalscarves.com. They'll get you up and running with any free designs and quotes built up for your school, your club, or if you want to do anything individually. And if you use the code #5050pod, they'll go ahead and they'll take care of you. A little bit extra care. They'll take care of you, right? So, and again, as Rafa showed it earlier, Coach will be sending you one of these custom 50/50 podcast scarves as well. So, there you go. Perfect. Yeah. So, hey, speaking of which, we hope you get those 23 state champ those state champ shirts soon. I know you and Lexi are rocking the 22 still, and I'm a large. I believe Rafa's an XL. Just saying. Just putting that out. but yeah, no, definitely appreciate you guys being here. This has been great. But before we go, it's our stoppage time where we wrap up with any final thoughts, thank yous, anything that's on your mind about just the game, your team, what have you, anything you want to share with us. We're going to go ahead and wrap up, and we'll start off with Lexi. Lexi, go ahead.
I think that none of this would have been possible without every teammate, every coach that believed in me, that coached me, and all the teammates beside me. Obviously, I couldn't have scored all those goals by myself. I had to have someone passing me the ball. And, you know, breaking records together meant so much, and it's something I'll remember forever. And I couldn't have done it without the strength that God gives me and works through me every day. And to him, the ultimate glory, honestly.
There you go.
And the support by the community, not just my family, who is crazy supportive, but the entire community as a whole. You know, this is probably something that you guys wouldn't know, or that a lot of people wouldn't know, but every time a sport goes to state, including us, any sport really, there are hay bales on the side of Preston Road in orange, take state, go Lady Bobcats, to back to back. So just the whole, you know, we come home, the water tower's orange after we win. So this whole community support is unreal, and it means a lot more than anyone will ever know to all of us.
It's awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Well, I was just going to say, just as a quick, how about them apples moment? You know, Lex wrote real quick, told me not too long ago about how there were a couple of clubs that passed up on her because her touch wasn't so good. So how about
that? Really?
Okay.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So just wanted to say that out there for you, Lex, that you deserve that, because what she accomplished this year was remarkable.
Well, she's mastered the touch of putting the ball in the goal. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
that.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
To kind of reiterate, like I said, the community of Celina is something, that you won't really find anywhere else. And, if there's anybody out there that's looking for a job, it's a great place to work. So come be my coworker. But really, it's not only the community there at the school, but just the community as a whole. I can't tell you the number of emails I've got from people that are big in the community. Hey, we want to do this for the team, and hey, what can we do to show you that that we've watched your whole journey and we want to celebrate it. We even had a bank the other day come in and wanted to take some pictures with us, just different things that show that the community of Celina really is something different than everywhere else in Texas. And I couldn't be any more thankful for that. So for all of you watching, thank you. Again, athletic administration, Bill Elliott he's a wonderful man. He's a godly man. He, I can't tell you how much he cares about the kids there in Celina, and has really made me feel comfortable there. So really appreciate his support. Dr. Tom, who's our superintendent, Ginger Murray, who's our girls coordinator, Kyle Sheridan, who's our assistant coordinator, and all the parents, all those cold nights sitting in the stands. And then the hot ones when we get to regionals and the state.
That's how long the soccer season is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. My wife and daughter, I can't thank them enough. You guys know as coaches that we coach some crazy hours, and their understanding that I've got 20-something other daughters that I also have in my life every year, and they're willing to accept that and understand the late nights and everything. And I couldn't be more thankful for them too.
Yeah. Huge shout out. That's the one that should be wearing all the medals, coaches.
Right. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. 210 proud, right? If I remember correctly, right?
That's right. Yeah. She's from the 210. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's awesome. So thank you for sharing that. Both of you. Appreciate that. Rafa, final thoughts?
Like I said, congratulations again on a real special season. Looking forward to covering you guys again next year. See, maybe get that third star, hopefully.
We're gonna try. Yeah, no pressure. Right. So awesome. And then, so my final thoughts. Mine is, I think the perfect. I guess this is the perfect setting to roll this out, is because we mentioned this about a year ago during the state tournament, and you all have experienced it in back-to-back years, but the change up of the format in the order in which the games are played, right? For particularly on you all, I think that's a tough one on the girls' side, right? You play first day and then you turn around and play the final the very next day, and it's the time of day, right? So I think it's long overdue in terms of the UIL reshuffling the order of some of the matches, and particularly allowing the opportunity for the girls programs to play under the lights a little later in the evening as well. Or even if the 4A girls have to continue to play a Wednesday set of semifinals and a Thursday final, maybe play the final in the evening, right, at night, make it the nightcap, which I think should be the case for a state final. But a couple of things, that's just some of the things I think we need to hit on a little bit more within the Texas high school soccer community. So coaches, particularly if you're a coach of a girls soccer program, you need to go to your athletic director, voice your opinion on that. Voice your opinion to your athletic director, to then voice their opinion to their district executive committee, to then ultimately up channel that, right, to the state, because that is really how UIL works, and they need to be hearing that. But for that to happen, it's got to go beyond just to your athletic coordinator, your ISD athletic director, and it has to go beyond. Let TASCO know as well, but it has to go, and TASCO can help in that, but it's got to go beyond TASCO. But those are my thoughts. I think it's long overdue, and I think it's more opportunity for not only the 4A girls, but all the girls programs to maybe afford them the opportunity to play whether it be the nightcaps or later in the evening as well. But I think a format change is long overdue. Coach, is there anything before we go? Is there anything you want to add to that since you've experienced it the last 2 years?
No, I agree. You can't say that it's a crowd thing. That maybe the 4A doesn't carry the same crowd or whatever, because we had that thing full. For that final, and I kind of feel that in the 40-something years of UIL sanctioned soccer, that at the 4A level, the level of play has definitely increased, and I think there is that push for hey, you've got some quality games happening here, and they deserve the same stage as the other classifications. Yeah, because even on the boys 4A side, they get a day break before they have to play their final. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of it goes into as to the whys of why they decide to do whatnot, because with hotels and stuff, it could get a little tricky, but I think that they've got to be able to find a way to make it work, because like you said, I think it's kind of unfortunate to almost, it's almost like they say, well, we'll hurry up and get this 4A, final out of the way, so that way we can move on to, the rest of the week. And I know that's not what they mean, but the appearance is that because of how everything's wedged so close together, and then everything else is played out differently. It's honestly, it's not a good look, and it needs to change.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agree. So that's going to do it. That's going to put it in the books. Again, they are both Coach Alexander Adams and Lexi Tweet of the two-time defending 4A Girls State champions, the Celina Lady Bobcats. Thank you both. Appreciate having you here. Again, for our listeners, for our supporters, thank you for everything. If you're new, if you're joining us for the first time, you can find us on social media, on Twitter at 50_50pod, as well as on Instagram at 50_50 podcast. You can also find us on YouTube. Go search us on YouTube there at the 50_50 podcast. You can also find us on Twitch at 50_50 pod. That's our newest platform that we're trying to grow. It's slowly growing, but it'll get there. And then you can also listen to us on wherever you listen to your podcast, whatever your platform of preferences. You can listen to us on all major podcast platforms as well. Grateful to all of you. Again, you are the reason why we do it. And until the next time, you know what to do. Keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading